Carnivorous plants, a strange and intriguing group of plants completely unrelated to one another, but sharing the unique ability to trap and consume insects, which I find extraordinarily interesting and fascinating. Interestingly, the three most commonly found carnivorous plants in Nova Scotia are associated with wetlands. And don't we love our wetlands? The definition simply a plant that survives by trapping and killing invertebrates, in this case insects, but sometimes small animals, such as salamanders. And this is something I found out when I was researching carnivorous plants in general. And ironically enough, Bob sent me a link to an article about the documentation of carnivorous plants trapping and consuming salamanders. So these plants break down the bodies of their prey with enzymes that they release, then absorb the nutrients directly through their leaves. On the left top of this frame, you'll see horned bladderwort. And then on the bottom is the Drosera, the sticky sundew. But I'm going to be talking about northern pitcher plants, the Sarracenia purpurea. These plants arise from a rhizome, a main, and typically underground plant stem, although of course I've never unseated a pitcher plant to look at it. But from the bottom of the rhizomes nodes, the roots develop, and from the top nodes, the stems develop that will eventually become the leaves and eventually the flower stalk. Leaves are tough, leathery, heavily veined. The margins fuse to form the pitcher. The inner surfaces of the leaves at the top are extremely smooth, but at the little bit, couple of inches down, maybe not even that, depending on the size of the leaf. The leaves are completely covered in downward facing hairs that are very stiff. And when an insect gets trapped in the pitcher, it's called a pitfall. They can't escape. And when they start to slide down the lip, there is no foot to hold for them. They just slide right through. At the base of the pitfall trap is liquid. It is a combination of the enzyme exuded by the plant and rainwater that is captured. Like all carnivorous plants, northern pitcher plants are found in wetlands, preferably ones with standing water, but not necessarily so. They can thrive in wet coniferous woodlands, but they're like a mossy substrate, mostly stagnant. They can be found in elevated barrens with shallow soils and even on the margins of bogs at elevation and at sea level. I found them actually at Normandy Beach of all places. Soil requirements are meager. They prefer nutrient-poor, highly acidic soil, found throughout Nova Scotia, more commonly here in Cape Breton and down in the southwest part of Nova Scotia. It happens to be the floral emblem for Newfoundland and Labrador. And floral emblems are something that really, they were popular in the 1880s, but really took hold in the 1920s and 30s when the government decided that all provinces needed a floral emblem, and they put it out to the ladies auxiliaries in the communities to hold contests for communities to vote their favorite plant. So they, for instance, Nova Scotia, our floral emblem is Epigea repens, the trailing arbutus. And like all the provinces, these are the favorite plants of local communities. But anyway, in Newfoundland and Labrador, it's the Sarracenia purpurea. Other strategies to ensure success for these plants, the pitcher throat, as I mentioned earlier, is very smooth. And I talked about the nectar, and these are just some pretty pictures that I took. The top one was taken at the Simon Point Trail, and the bottom right one was taken up the Bog Trail on the top of French Mountain. Leaves are typically green or purple tinted. They are often heavily veined, as you can see, sometimes not so much. They are flared, so when the plant matures, the leaves fuse. The pitcher pitfall is trap is formed. I like this shot. It took quite a bit. I actually had somebody holding onto the back of my shirt so I didn't go face first into the bog there. But I wanted to get a photo of the pictures of the pitfall traps filled with liquid, and I managed with this one quite nicely. So, and also you can see the very top of the lip and how smooth it is. And you can also get a good idea as to the density, the high density of the hairs. So, of course, insects, there's no way they can get it. In the winter, the leaves often turn this beautiful, bright wine red color. And you can see the sort of substrates that they prefer. On the top left, the staging moss. On the right, the staging is being taken over by the Bedonia. The old leaves from previous year's growth, as you can see, they get very papery, they turn gray, eventually they start to decompose. This is a flower bud. You see that the very tall and very, very sturdy single flower stalk arises away from the mother part of the plant where the pitchers are being are formed. And this is actually to protect the pollinators so that they don't fall into the pitfall traps. It looks like a button. Oh, this is, I'm not going to just have a quick look, but I'm not supposed to be using it. So bye. But you can see the solitary, large and nodding flowers borne aloft at the tip of the strong stalk. Well, I already said all that. The flowers are formed of 5 each of sepals and petals, and it gives it an umbrella-like look. The ovary, as you can see, is round and large, and the style beneath catches pollen. And it also is a platform for the insects to rest upon. And again, you can see in the top photo that the pitfall traps are quite a ways away from the overhanging flowers, again, to protect the pollinators. And you can see the absolutely stunning wine red color of the sepals, and the petals are often yellowish. This is just a close-up of that same flame. And here we get to see the ovary in the style underneath, and you can see the contrasting colors. They're beautifully veined and beautifully marked. And they're very, very tough. If you've ever touched a pitcher plant, you'd be surprised at how leathery all parts are. Just a side view. And from underneath, I was actually lying on the ground to take this photo, but somehow I managed not to sink in. But I thought it was definitely worthwhile getting myself underneath it to have a good view at it. And you can see just how otherworldly these flowers are. They're very, very strange and unusual. And they eat insects. The very idea of a plant being able to consume an insect is mind-boggling. When you look across the barrens, you can see them. At these photos, this one was taken at the Dog Trail. I actually zoomed in with my camera, but we were standing on the boardwalk. I remember we were there a few years ago. And it's just fascinating just how densely these plants are in terms of their populations and suitable habitat. Photos by me at Bugs at Lewisburg in the Hunt National Park and Manitou Highway.